The Book of Ruth, Chapter 2. And Naomi has an acquaintance of her husband's, a man mighty in wealth, of the family of Elimelech, and his name is Boaz. And Ruth the Moabitess says to Naomi, Please let me go into the field, and I gather among the ears of grain after him in whose eyes I find grace. And she says to her, Go, my daughter. And she goes and comes and gathers in a field after the reapers. And her chance happens the portion of the field is Boaz's, who is of the family of Elimelech. And behold, Boaz has come from Beth-Lehem, and says to the reapers, Yahweh is with you. And they say to him, Yahweh blesses you. And Boaz says to his young man who is set over the reapers, Whose is this young person? And the young man who is set over the reapers answers and says, A young woman, Moabitess. She is who came back with Naomi from the fields of Moab. And she says, Please, let me glean, and I have gathered among the sheaves after the reapers. And she comes and remains, since the morning and until now. She sat in the house a little while. And Boaz says to Ruth, Have you not heard, my daughter? Do not go to glean in another field, and also do not pass over from here, and thus you cleave to my young women. Your eyes are on the field which they reap, and you have gone after them. Have I not charged the young men not to touch you? When you are thirsty, then you have gone to the vessels, and have drunk from that which the young men draw. And she falls on her face and bows herself to the earth, and says to him, Why have I found grace in your eyes, to discern me, and I a stranger? And Boaz answers and says to her, It has been thoroughly declared to me all that you have done with your mother-in-law after the death of your husband, and you leave your father and your mother and the land of your birth, and come to a people which you have not known before. Yahweh repays your work, and your reward is complete from Yahweh, God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge. And she says, Let me find grace in your eyes, my Lord, because you have comforted me, and because you have spoken to the heart of your maidservant, and I am not as one of your maidservants. And Boaz says to her, At mealtime, come near here, and you have eaten of the bread, and dipped your morsel in the vinegar. And she sits at the side of the reapers, and he reaches to her roasted grain, and she eats, and is satisfied, and leaves. And she rises to glean, and Boaz charges his young men, saying, Even between the sheaves she gleans, and you do not cause her to blush. And also you surely cast her of the handfuls, and have left, and she has gleaned, and you do not push against her. And she gleans in the field until the evening, and beats out that which she has gleaned, and it is about an ephah of barley. And she takes it up, and goes into the city, and her mother-in-law sees that which she has gleaned. And she brings out and gives to her that which she left from her satiety. And her mother-in-law says to her, Where have you gleaned today, and where have you worked? May he who is discerning you be blessed. And she declares to her mother-in-law with whom she has worked, and says, The name of the man with whom I have worked today is Boaz. And Naomi says to her daughter-in-law, Blessed is he of Yahweh, who has not forsaken his kindness with the living and with the dead. And Naomi says to her, The man is a relation of ours. He is of our redeemers. And Ruth the Moabitess says, Also he surely said to me, Near the young people whom I have, you cleave, until they have completed the whole of the harvest which I have. And Naomi says to her daughter-in-law Ruth, Good, my daughter, that you go out with his young women, and they do not come against you in another field. And she cleaves to the young women of Boaz to glean, until the completion of the barley harvest, and of the wheat harvest, and she dwells with her mother-in-law.